isn't all about just healing and miracles and walking on water and doing great and incredible and miraculous things. Discipleship is not always about spiritual gifts and incredible things happening, spiritual glamour and glory. It's not about access Jerusalem or walking down the Galilean red carpet spiritually. There's some hard times ahead. There's some clouds coming. Some suffering. Some sleepless nights. Some struggle. Some storms. Some difficulties. Even death on the cross. The very people that claim to worship me are going to be my chief persecutors in the name of God. It's going to get tough. In verse 22, Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. Never, Lord, he said, this shall never happen to you. You know, Peter here finally raises his hands, and you know, in our East City vernacular, or East City's version of the Bible, yo, Jesus, can I holler at you for a minute?
Yeah.
Come on over here. I don't want to throw you under the bus in front of the other homies.
Oh, yeah. You'll talk.
Step on over here to the side. I respect that. Step on over here to the side. Let me get in that ear for a minute. Never. The Greek word here has the idea that it's a continual rebuke over and over and over again. This will never happen under my watch. This will never happen to you. It's not going down like this, Jesus. And for a minute there, Peter forgot who the Lord was and who he was. Can anybody here relate to that? You do. Don't act like you don't do that. Sometimes you forget who Jesus is. He says how it's going to be, and you say, no. It's going to be like this. I'm going here. I'm going there. I'm going to do that because that's what I want.
Wow.
And then I'll see you a few weeks later and you don't even look the same. God get a hold of your little tail. Hair done fell out. You looking all beat up. Pray for me. I told you before. Before you slap Peter on the hand, there's a little bit of Peter in all of us. We don't like the hard times. We like, and I do too, I like the all things are possible with God. I love that. I love the nothing can separate me from the love of God. I love that. I love the God is faithful in all things. You see, because sometimes we feel, and I feel this way too sometimes, you know, I work hard at my Christianity. I come to church. I pray. I have my quiet times. I study. I give. I get with brothers and sisters. I encourage people. I go to conferences and seminars. I preach. I do this and I do that. Why am I struggling? I don't deserve that. This cloud stuff is too much. I like it when God is just blowing the sunshine in my face. But Jesus says, clouds are coming. Sometimes our agenda in life doesn't match what we're going through. That just happened to me today. You know, I had this perfect agenda. I'm going to get up and I'm going to go out to East Cities and worship and preach the Word of God. And I get into the car, and right before I get ready to turn on the highway, my tire blows up. And I was like, I was already turning to the Incredible Hulk. You know, I'm trying to get to church. And I just had to pray. This isn't in the plan. This isn't in the agenda today. And, you know, I get out and I get the spare. And, I'm terrible mechanically. I mean, I don't know what to do here. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to change this tire. So I get on out to change this tire. And I go over to change it. And it's got some kind of weird Phillips thing blocking the screws, and I don't have one of those, so now I can't change the tire. And so I called AAA, and I'm like, I need you guys to come out and help me. And they said, well, sir, your membership just expired on the 15th. You got to take care of this. And I'm like, get behind me, Satan. That's when I started going there. I'm like, get behind me, Satan. So I get in there and I say, okay, I'm going to drive it. I drive it to the gas station and I try to put air in it, and the tire won't hold air. So the attendant comes up and I say, hey, can you help me change the tire? He says, we don't change tires. I said, can you help me put air in it? Yeah, I'll help you put air in it. So he gets the air and he tries to help me put air in it. Oh, it's not taking air, my friend. I'm like, I'm not your friend. I'm a Christian trying to get to church. And so it doesn't take air. And he says, turn your wheel. Like, why am I turning? Turn your wheel. So I turn my wheel, and he reaches his hand and he says, oh, this is why it's not taking air. And there's a big slit in the side of the tire. And he said, this tire is no good. I said, I know. And I said, God, I know it's your will that I get to church. Work this out. And just then, literally, after I said that prayer, the AAA truck pulled right up in front of my car. I said, man, can you help me? He said, yeah, I can help you. And he had the little screw that goes to the wheel thing, and took it off and changed the spare. And I called Doug. I'm like, I'm on my way, man. I'm going to be there in 30 minutes. Get behind me, Satan. And I was able to get here. But sometimes the agendas in our life don't always match what we're going through. And it's during those times that we've got to trust God. Jesus, who blessed Peter 2 verses earlier, said, you're the rock I can build on you. I'm going to give you all these things. 2 verses later, he said, get behind me, Satan. This is the verse that we say for our co-workers, right? Getting on our nerve. Get behind me, Satan. This is the verse that wives use on their husbands when they're not treating them right. Get behind me, Satan, honey. Get behind me, Satan, honey. I don't know why my wife does that. She calls me Satan, honey, when I'm not doing well. Jesus wanted Peter to understand right now that there are rough times and difficulties coming. Let me give you 3 things that you need to understand from this passage. What time is it? Because I can preach all day. 11:30. Can y'all give me about 10 more minutes?
Yeah.
All right, give me 10 more minutes. Don't be all wiggling around in your seats and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to tell you to get behind me, Satan, if you do that. Let me give you 3 real quick things. And I'm just going to kind of skim over these because this is actually a 2-part series that I've developed about this topic. But let me give you 3 things I want you to understand. Number 1, the longer you walk with God, there will be moments when God's will is not always what you want. I know. In verse 21, Jesus didn't want this either. I think Jesus liked hanging out with the disciples. I think Jesus liked walking around and doing miracles. I don't think Jesus wanted this. In fact, in the garden, he said, God, take it away. There will be moments in your walk with God where God's will not be what you want. And Jesus says here in verse 21, from that time on, he began to explain to his disciples that he must must means there's no options. He must go to Jerusalem and suffer at the hands of the elders and the chief priests and teachers of the law, and that he must be killed. He must. This is a divine imperative, a mandate, a calling of God for Jesus' life. It's not what he wanted, but it was God's will, and Peter struggled with it. And sometimes we struggle with it as well. You know, I've been trying to diet again. I let my weight sort of balloon up, and over a month or so ago, I was eating everything, chicken, pizza, cookies, all kind of bad stuff that I've never eaten in my life. I was doing terrible. Don't act like y'all haven't done that now. Come on. Y'all sitting back there judging me. I'm being open up here. Raise your hand if you ate a cookie in the last week. My hand ain't raised. But you know, I knew I needed to diet. I knew, man, I've got to change this. I've got to give up some things. I've got to turn some things around. I know it's God's will for me to be healthy and for me to treat my body like the temple that God made it. That's God's will. But I wanted apple pie. Alamo, you really simple. Alamo. But you know what? After a couple of weeks, I'm loving the results. You know, you may not always want what God's will is, but if you obey God, you'll love the results. It's tough sometimes to accept that your dream might not be God's dream for you. You've been going after it for a long time, and God has just said, no, that's not what I want you to do. And you may think, well, that's the best thing for me. That's the most awesome thing for me. That's just because that's what you think. When really God has something significantly better for you. But because you don't understand that God's will for your life is not your will, you won't let God work in your life. God always takes us to something good. He works for the good of those who love Him. Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Takes us to something better. Not everything that you want for you is best for you. Not every person you want for you is the right person for you. I don't hear enough singles saying amen.